Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friend Leigh Show. I am your host and friend, Leigh. Oh, I am so happy that this worked. I've been working for the last couple of minutes trying to get everything set up, and for some reason, it was challenging me. So that's always fun. So welcome, you guys. I am so excited. I know I say this every week, and it's true every week, but this week especially is going to be a very difficult topic for me, which means that I really need it. And I'm really hoping that you guys are going to be here live so you can help me. You can give me some of your wisdom. You can give me some of your experience with this topic. And this topic is all month. Our theme or our series is all about acceptance. And today we are going to be talking about the happy pillar partnerships. So our relationships that we hold with people closest to us, but also with people just on the periphery and people in our passing. So it's going to be a really good conversation. I entitled this episode Love Without Control, the Power of Acceptance in Relationships. And if you've been following me for a while, you know why this is such an important topic for me, especially right now. So today marks 15 weeks of my sister being away from home in a hospital-like setting. She's been out of the hospital for the last 3 weeks, but in like a complex care unit. And things are still very difficult. Things are still very touch and go, moment to moment. One of the things that I have been learning, and it's interesting because even though I teach on it, you can always be learning different levels of the things even that you know. And, I have been teaching about, happiness is in the moment. Right now is the only moment that we have. And I truly believe that. But when you're in something that is this acute, something this dire, literally life and death, it is very easy to fall out of the moment and look into the future, no matter how far that future may be. And these are the moments that really heighten and kind of like have a magnifying glass on those types of things. And I'm so grateful. You never know why you're doing the things that you're doing, truly, what the connection is. And I really do believe that the happy framework that I developed years ago was there to serve me now. It has helped me tremendously navigate these waters. And all 5 pillars are so important. And right now, this love without control is very difficult because when you truly love somebody, the true love is non-judgment. True love is not trying to change anybody. True love is accepting people as they are, where they are. And we all know that. But it is very hard to practice when you're losing somebody. And you can see it doesn't have to be this way. But her struggle is real. Her struggle, any of you that have struggled with Crohn's or colitis and chronic illness for years, decades, it's in her case, it becomes very difficult because your brain and your gut, which talk to us normally, tells us, when we're satiated, when we're hungry, when those lines are broken, it becomes very difficult to do just the main things that you need to do, like eat and drink. And she is trying, but it's just possibly not enough. And we are pushing and controlling. And even though every day when we come in here, we say we are not going to do that today. Today is going to be a day of love, of acceptance, of compassion. And then the day goes on and we see the calories not going in the direction that they need to go. fear sets in, worry sets in, grief sets in, and that control, that false sense of love and control sets in. And so that this is something very, very big that I'm learning. And I really, truly hope that I'm learning this quickly enough that I'm able to do this before it's too late. And hopefully my love and compassion will be able to calm her nervous system enough that she can make the choices that she needs to make, even though her body is finding it very difficult to make those choices. So, this conversation, it is not going to be, that is as well, who knows where this is going to go because this podcast, my favorite part of it is when you become a part of the show. And let's see if yeah. I was just going to say, let's see if anybody is here watching. I do know that there are eyeballs that, StreamYard is telling me that there's eyeballs watching, but unless you actually comment, I don't know that you're here. So, and you guys, I went into a networking meeting today and I went in for the cabinet studio. So that was the hat I was wearing as a kitchen designer. And I walked in and people that knew me as a kitchen designer, I wasn't in there for 3 minutes. And I had 2 different people come up to me, thanking me for the show, thanking me for the conversations that we're having here on the Friend Leigh Show. And I had no idea that they were watching. I didn't know. So if you're watching this or you're listening to this in the replay, can you please do me a huge favor? Can you please just say hi? Just comment hi. So I know you're here or I know you're watching in the replay because I am so curious to see who is listening. I'm just always fascinated by that. But if you comment, you become part of the show. And so Pops is here. He says, good evening, young lady. Well, hello, sir. How are you doing? Mel's here. Hey, my beautiful friend. Well, hello, gorgeous. And Virginia is here. Hi, sweetheart. Hi. Oh, it's so good. I'm so glad you guys are here. It's so cool. So, now, for those of you guys in the audio version that are listening to this, I am going to do like a little bit of here are some tangible takeaways. Here's some ideas to think about. And then the last part of the show, which is my favorite part of the show, is when we really start discussing the things that we were talking about and you give your insights, your wisdom. Maybe you ask questions. If I have the answer, I will tell you what my answer is, what my experience is. I will let you know, here's my disclaimer. I do this some point during the show and I will do it right here, right off the hop. I am not a healthcare professional in any means. But I am simply here as your friend. I like you to think about me. I've invited you over to my house and we're sitting in the living room. Maybe you brought a friend. I brought a couple of friends. We're having a conversation. And so if you hear anything in this show that really resonates and really, oh, shoot. The light just went out. Let me see if I can get it back on. Nope. Hold on. No, sometimes it's motion controlled and I can do it, but I guess I can't do it today. So here it is. Anyway, so if you hear anything that sounds like I am diagnosing you, I am not. But if it sounds like I am, please take it to a healthcare professional, whether that's your doctor or your mental health expert, whether that's your therapist or social worker. And also if you hear anything that you're like, oh, Britt was saying blah, 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 and that sounds like something that would work for me, please also take that to your healthcare professional. They know your family history, your medical history, and all of the things. But I really do hope that you tune in every week here because the conversation is so good. I've grown from doing this show. So I'm not going to be here telling you that I have all the answers. But I like to think that I have some answers. And so I do like sharing that, but I love hearing your answers as well. So let's kind of dive in. Let's talk about, relationships. I call them partnerships because it's the second P in happy for the happy framework. And, there's no R in happy, so I couldn't call it relationships. But I was kind of going through and I'm like, okay, so if we're talking about acceptance and we're talking about relationships, where does this really show up? And a lot of the time, it's kind of easy to accept strangers for who they are. Like, oh, let them be, let them live their best life, and that's okay. But when it's close relationships, my first example of what I was talking about, what I'm going through right now, that's where it becomes really difficult. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine today, and she is having a really hard time because her parents just don't understand her lifestyle. And she's having a really hard time with that because she wants her parents to love and accept her for who they are and who she is. And it's difficult because they, a little bit old school, a little bit of, and they don't understand it. What's nice in her case is that they're trying. Her parents are trying to. And yeah, we would want to say, well, don't try, just accept. We have a lot of conditioning, you guys. We have a lot of conditioning. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't. But our conditioning isn't our fault, right? What is in our control is the way that we act on it. And so, we can have conditioning, whether it's, by our schools or by our parents or just by society as a whole. And we can have that come up for us, but it's how we act on it. And that's where we really get to assert our kind of control over our own life and how we are going to be showing up. And so I want to talk mostly about our close connections, not so much accepting the barista or accepting the person that's walking by you. I want to be talking about how do we truly accept people that are close to us, that we can see that they can thrive in a different way, that maybe they're going down a road. If you're a parent, I'm sure that you've experienced this, where you're seeing your child, maybe behaving a certain way or hanging out with a certain group or whatever, going in a path that you're not happy. You can kind of see the writing on the wall. You've been there, you've done that, you get it. But how are we able to come at these things with love and compassion and true acceptance, and to be able to honor where people are? And I don't think that means just like, okay, live your life. That's it. I'm not going to tell you my experience. I think it's very powerful for us to say our experience or what we know or what our inner wisdom is. I think that's important to share. But we don't have to push that on people. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm pushing my belief on my sister, and I know what I'm doing. I know that it is feeding her shame. I know that it is feeding her her grief and her sorrow. And as I'm doing it, I'm realizing I'm doing it, and I step away and apologize. And some people might say that that's not good enough, but unfortunately that's the way that I'm conditioned. I'm conditioned to control out of fear because I love her so much, and I have to step aside and do better. I have to know better and do better, even if that means that I'm not doing well in the moment, and I get to shift that next moment, even if it looks like I'm totally bipolar, like, just doing these two complete opposite things. That's how you make change. You make change by taking action. So that's one thing that we can do. We cannot think or expect ourselves to show up perfectly in these relationships that we just don't. We want to change people that we love. And if we come at it and we go into that change mode and that control mode, we have to accept the fact for ourselves that, okay, you know what, that actually wasn't cool. That's not what I want, and make that change. And who cares that, put your tail between your legs, but know that your ultimate goal is love and compassion, if that is the case for you. So acceptance is not passive. It is, it's active love without control. This is something that is so hard. Many people confuse control with care. I am in these moments. I am, and I need to work on it. And every moment, not every day, not every week, every moment. The strongest relationships, you guys, are rooted in allowing, not in fixing. So we need to be able to allow our family and our friends that are close to us have emotional safety. And the neuroscience behind that is that our brain is constantly scanning for threats of belonging. So if we feel judged, we're going to shut down. If we feel like we don't have connection, we're going to have a really hard time showing up as our authentic self. We're going to have a hard time showing up and making the right decisions for ourselves. True connection, it really does require us to have psychological safety. We have to be non-judgmental. My friends, my clients, they love, that is one of the overarching things that come from, especially my clients, when I get testimonials, when I get why they see progress with working with me. One of the top things is that I am non-judgmental. I don't judge my clients. I don't judge my friends. I don't judge people, except for here, I'm judging my sister. Why aren't you doing this? Why are you hurting yourself? I mean, she's not physically hurting herself, but in my mind, she is, because she's not working harder to get the calories in. She's not working harder to do these things. And really she is, because she's battling this where her brain and her gut are not talking. She's battling this, and I'm sure she knows what the right answer is for her to thrive. And so she's having to battle that. And that's a big battle. But so we have to come at things non-judgmentally, and it's very difficult when we can see a better path or a different path for family, and we just have to let them live their path, their soul's journey, which is just so difficult. So a lot of the times, we lose ourselves in others. We see their mistakes as our mistakes. We see what they're doing, and we can see maybe past mistakes that we've made, and we want to protect them from that. But really, we are the people that we are right now because of the mistakes that we were able and allowed, and we benefited from making those mistakes and learning the lesson and growing from that. If we were protected from all the mistakes that we've made, we would never grow and learn. And so that is a really, really hard thing, but we need to be able to do that. Acceptance begins when we stop demanding others to fill the gaps we won't face in ourselves. So when we are, when we've got issues, when we've got things that we have to be working on. Okay. So like this may be part of what it is for me too, because I have the opposite thing that my sister is going through. She's going through where it's really difficult for her to be able to eat enough. And I have the opposite. I'm eating more than I should. But really it's the same thing, because her brain is not talking to her gut and my brain is not talking to my gut. So we have it polar opposite ways. And so maybe that's another thing that I am, pushing that on her, when really I need to look at myself and work on myself. Now, here's another thing that we also need to set boundaries. Okay. For when we're talking about acceptance with our relationships, we need to set boundaries, and boundaries are not walls. They're just having clarity in the care and the action that we're going to be taking. And we need to be able to accept others. We need to be able to accept others and not build walls. And I have found that I've done that. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, if you don't need me here, then I'm going to leave, because I can't sit by and watch this. Well, that's not true. That's exactly what I need to be doing. I need to be loving and accepting and non-judgmental of what she's going through, and hold her hand and be here in love. Even though that is going to be very difficult for me, that's what I have to do to show my love for her. And that is going to be very difficult, but that is part of it, is sitting by and allowing her to be who she is and through the journey that she's on right now. Hoy, you guys, this is so, I can't wait to get into conversation with you guys. So a couple of the things that I'm learning that I need to do, these are some of the things that I am working on that I have been able to teach to other people and that I can usually do. And like I said, in this, it is really holding me to the fire. See the person, not the project. Okay. So we need to be, I've always been a fixer. I've always been hey, let me help you. Hey, let me do this. Hey, let me do that. Hey, I notice you're struggling with this. Here's how I can fix you. See the person, not the project. So that's one of the things that I'm working on. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. The other thing is we need, and I talk about this all the time, and we'll probably talk about this next week when we're talking about youthfulness, because in youthfulness, I always talk about the curiosity part. I think we need to really look at being curious when we're trying to accept people for who they are. Be curious about why they're doing the things that they're doing, and not in a judgment way, but get to know that person on a deeper level. Why are they making the choices that they're making? And not to tell them that they're making these choices that are wrong choices. Understand their side of it, you know? So out of curiosity, we can really find connection. And I think that is really, really important in our relationships. So the other last thing is practicing loving detachment. This one's a hard one for me. You can love someone deeply and release the outcome. Okay. And that's what I have to keep telling myself. I can love my sister deeply and not be attached to what happens. So those are just a few things. I'm actually I didn't realize. Okay. So it's already, we've got like 5 minutes left of the show. So we may run over a little bit. Usually we try to keep it to about half an hour, mainly because visiting hours is over at 8:00 here. We may run over a little bit longer because I do want to do like a couple of lightning rounds at the end. But I do want to see if you guys are giving any kind of aha moments, questions, whatever the case may be, or things that have worked for you, or things that you're trying. Maybe you have somebody that is really like, yes, you know what? I'm in relationship with this person, spouse, child, parent, family member, and you're trying to accept. There's a lot of divisiveness, you know, in our society right now. There's a lot of, you know, us against them type of mentalities. This is a perfect time for us to be able to practice loving acceptance, loving compassion. And so I'm really curious, you know, what have you tried? What's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? What are you trying now that like you don't even know if it's going to work or not work? These are the things that I would love to hear. If you are watching this in the replay and you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I guess I missed the boat. I can't really be part of the show. Yes, you can. Please go ahead and comment. I'm going to listen to it. And if I, you know, see a comment and I'm like, yeah, you know what, we really should bring that back up on the next show, we'll absolutely do that. I'll, at the very least, be commenting back on your comments because these conversations are where a lot of wisdom is shared. And I think why people are loving the show. So if you are listening to this in the replay, please let us know, say hi, tell me that you're watching in the replay, but also act as if you're watching this live and share your wisdom with us. Okay. And if you're listening to this in the audio version, you know, head on over to YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitch and comment. Okay. Or you can email us also, the Friend Leigh, Leigh show@gmail.com. Okay. So here we go. So Virginia says, powerful boundaries are not walls. Yes. This is what, you know, Virginia, a lot of people think that they're like, oh, I'm going to put up a boundary, right? Like that's the image that it is. I'm going to put this boundary and you're not going to cross it. It's not a wall. And something that I heard years ago, And I thought it was really like an important thing, an important distinction, is that, boundaries can be set and you can choose if you're going to cross a boundary. And it's okay for you to cross a boundary, okay? Your own boundary. What's not okay is for you to cross somebody else's boundary. So if somebody, puts up a boundary and says, hey, you know what, let's say just something simple. I don't take phone calls after 9:00. Okay. That's my downtime. That's it. And if you're like, oh yeah, I know she doesn't take phone calls at 9:00, but I mean, it's 9:30 and I really want to ask her this question, or I really want to talk to her. And you call your friend and then they pick up the phone and they didn't really want to pick up the phone, but they thought maybe it was an emergency because the boundary. So this must be important. And then you're like, hey, I was just wondering. That's you crossing their boundary. And that's not cool. That's not cool. It's up to them. It's up to you. You get to choose if you want to cross that boundary or not of your own. So if it's 9:00, and your friend calls at 9:30 and you're like, hey, you know what? I kind of like that they called. And I mean, usually I don't, but I mean, I'm already up and I'm going to answer the phone. That's fine. That's you choosing to cross that boundary that you set. It doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't mean anything. You don't have to make it mean anything. You get to go back and forth with that. So I think that's a really good distinction in that. Now, if you're setting a boundary for yourself for a certain reason, really try not to. You set the boundary for a reason. Try not to be always crossing that boundary, because what was the point of you setting it? But you're able to kind of choose in certain circumstances to be able to do what you want to do. Okay. I hope that makes sense. And then Pop says, I like the see the person, not the project. Me too. Boy, it's hard for me sometimes. But that's one of the things that I really like to teach, because especially when it comes to happiness, we think that everything around us has to be perfect and I'm going to fix everybody. That's not the case. We just have to be in the moment, and acceptance is one of the biggest things. Accepting who you are, where you are, and where everybody else is around you. So, okay. So let me go. I had ChatGPT. So let me open up the little thing. I had ChatGPT, as I always do every week, and do some lightning round questions because I want to answer them as well. So we're just going to do 3. Okay. Top 3 that he, I don't know why I call him a he, but anyway, that ChatGPT put together for this episode. So here are the questions for us to get to know our friends on the Friend Leigh Show a little bit more. So number 1, and when I ask the questions, go ahead and answer the first one and then push enter. That way that answer comes up. You can be a part of the conversation, and then I will ask the other 2 questions a couple more times. Okay. So here are the 3 questions. When do you feel most accepted in a relationship? When do you feel most accepted in a relationship? 2, what's harder for you, accepting others or being accepted? What's harder for you, accepting others or being accepted? And number 3, what's one expectation you could release today? Okay. So when do you feel most accepted in a relationship? That's kind of a hard, let's see. Are you guys answering that? Oh, yeah. Virginia says, I like that too. See the person, not the project. And Mel, as honest as she is, I love you so much. What do you mean by not the project? Okay, so see the person, not the project. So a lot of us are fixers and helpers, and you see somebody and you say, oh my gosh, you know what? I can fix them in whatever capacity that is. There are things I'm sure that you see in Britt, your husband, that you can fix. That's a project. That's something that you're going to take on. That's not seeing the person for who they are. Now, it's a different thing that if somebody that you love comes up to you and says, hey, Leigh, I'm dealing with this thing. I would love to know your take on this, or do you have any advice for me? Or can you help me? Can you help hold me accountable? Or whatever that case is, that's different. But it's when you look at somebody and you say, I can help them with that. And you take that on as a project. And now you don't see them as the person that they are. You see them as the project. Does that make sense? So Mel says, I used to be that way in my first marriage. Okay, so you do get it. Yeah, so it's hard. It's hard. But if we're always looking at being the fixer, then do we truly love that person? Not truly, not unconditionally. And so we can change that. We can decide that we want to love them unconditionally and truly, and we can work on that need to fix. But if we're looking at them like, I love them, for who they're going to be, that's not true love. Okay, so Pop says, number 1, I almost always feel accepted by Mel. Oh, that's nice. And Mel says, I feel most accepted with affirmations. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, actually. Like your love language. That's really, really cool. So yeah, that could be one way. So for me, I guess I feel most accepted when, I don't know, I have a hard time, I guess. Probably I feel most accepted when I do something that I feel should have shame around it, and I don't get that look of shame from the other person. It's like, oh, wow, you can feel it. You can feel when people are looking at you and shaming you. I guess that might be it. I don't know. Then number 2, the question, what's harder for you, accepting others or being accepted? That's a good question. And let's see here. We have got, come on, let me come up here. Why aren't I not seeing? Oh, here we go. Okay, so Mel says being accepted. She has a hard time being accepted. And Mel says, Pops almost always. What? What did I miss? Oh, she said, almost always? What? Because you said I almost always feel accepted by Mel. Well, they're married, and this will be a fun conversation for them to have as soon as we finish the show, unless you guys want to do that now. Oh, I love it. Britt says, Mel, I love you guys so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Virginia says, it's hard being a fixer, especially with your kids. It is. And it's not necessary. It's not. We can share our wisdom without trying to fix somebody. We really can. We can share wisdom, we can share experience without expecting them to take that on and to do those things and to change. It's simply, hey, you know what? Here's the thing. I've had this experience. It doesn't really work out very well, but do you, whatever you need, and then not expect them to listen to your advice, And then Pop says, number 2, being accepted is harder, no question. Yeah, for me too, Britt. I feel like when I first heard that, I was like, well, I don't really care. Like, I don't need to be accepted. That's not true. That's like a need. One of the basic needs of us is to feel belonging and feel part of a tribe. And so I have a hard time with always feeling accepted, but I am able to accept others. Absolutely. Mel says yes to the other viewer, and it doesn't get easier when they're 26. Oh, about the kids. Yeah, it's hard. It is. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not a mom, but I could only imagine. And then the last question, oh my gosh. Okay. It's going to storm. So this is the last question. So what's one expectation you could release today? And mine is going to be calorie count for my sister. I can let that go right now. It'll be hard. It's easier said than done. All of these things are easier said than done, but that is something that I'm going to be working on. And if any of you guys have a really good memory, next week when we resume, you can ask me, how did I do with that? So I'm going to wrap up here. You can please go ahead and comment on all of these, answer the 3 questions. And I will see you next week. Next week, we're going to be wrapping up. We're going to be talking about youthfulness and acceptance. So I love you guys so, so much. Oh, here we go. Okay. So Virginia says, totally agree with you. Yes, that it doesn't get easier as they age. And Pop says, number 3, that each day has to be better than the last. Amen. It does not have to be. It's great when it is. It's great when it's better than the last, but it doesn't have to be. That is amazing, Britt. That's a great way to end it. I love you guys so much. Big hugs, big hugs. Thank you for being here. This is my favorite part of the week. I absolutely love it. And please bring a friend next time. Bring them to my living room and be a part of the Friend Leigh Show. We do this every single Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, or whatever the equivalent is for you. I love you. Bye.